Hi, this is Darren Hirsch and Coach DJ Walsh with Loudon Ice Center. And we're here in our, what we call our expansion space at our Real Ice Center in Sterling, Virginia, outside of Washington, D.C., where we've created kind of a makeshift off-ice training area that we'll be doing virtual drills and putting things up on Facebook and Instagram for you guys to follow and work at home. But right now, one of the biggest things that we're missing, obviously by being home, is skating and skating simulation. So what we're going to do is show you how to make your own homemade slide board that you can do skating simulation at home, and also while you're skating work with your hands and everything else. And we have come up with a very inexpensive way to do this. If you go to your local Home Depot or actually have it delivered, which may be safer, is you get this hardboard that has a smooth melamine finish. The other thing you'll need is 4x4, 4 inches by 4 inches piece of wood that's 8 feet long. And we'll show you that you eventually cut that in half. And then to put everything together, you're going to need some bolts, bolts, nuts and washers, obviously a drill, and then something to sand with. But all of this stuff put together, as far as the material, was only $25. So it is a very inexpensive option to get training at home in a skating simulation, and we'll show you how to put that together now. So the first thing we're going to do is work with the wood. Now we've already had this pre-cut. First thing we did is cut it in half, so you have the two square 4-foot pieces, because they're going to go on the ends. That's what you're going to push off to do your slide board. And they did that right there for us for free at Home Depot. Now the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get these cut in half at a 45-degree angle. So now you have two pieces like this, and just to give you a good visual of what it's eventually going to look like, is we're going to then mount these wood pieces to each of the ends here so that you have something to push off of. And now, most of the boards you're going to see and the ones you can buy online that you're probably going to pay well over $100 for, they're just going to have a block here at the end. And the problem with that is then you start pushing off of the edge of your foot, and that, number one, that's not really similar to the skating motion, but number two, it's eventually going to hurt your foot. But I like this idea because it gets your foot at that 45-degree angle for a good push-off. So that's kind of what we're doing here. Now, you're going to have this extra piece, but what I would like to do with this is, for our younger skaters, is kind of mount this. Here and here are going to be, the longest ends are going to be 8 feet. This, just by eyeing it up, is probably 6 feet, 5.5. We're going to put another one here that you can remove or put back, just so our younger, 8U through 10U, that they'll be able to do slide motion as well. So when you get that 45-degree angle cut, this leaves some very sharp edges. And we're fine with the ones that are going to go on the bottom. That's not going to be the issue. But right up here, if somebody falls, they're likely going to cut themselves. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you how we're going to sand this down and make that more accident-proof. Now we're going to take just a circular sander, because, you can obviously do this by hand. It'll just take longer, but everybody's at home, so you might have some time. But all we're going to do is sand this edge so that it's not so sharp. And if you want, you can even sand this part, but that's really all we're doing here. So now that we've sanded this edge to make sure it's not sharp and can cut, we've dulled it nicely. Now we're going to put a piece of wood underneath the melamine board and our push. just so that we don't drill down, because now we're gonna drill the holes in that to attach these two pieces together. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna drill some holes that are 1/4 inch so that our bolts can go through. And we're gonna put one at about 3 inches. And we're going a little bit more to the top here because this is cut at an angle, so we want to attach it at the thickest part of our board. And then we're gonna do another one at around 2 feet. And then this side again, we're gonna go in around 3 inches. And again, these holes don't have to be at the exact same place. I just think you would want to anchor it at either end and then once in the middle. And now we're going to drill down. So now we're going to start to drill, and we started at an angle, so it's a little bit difficult to get it started. But once you do, then you're going to drill all the way down through the angled wood and all the way through the melamine board. And you're going to do that with all 3 holes. So now that you have all 3 holes drilled in the diagonal wood piece, and then it's gone all the way down through the melamine board, now you're going to take a thicker drill bit that is about the size of the nut that's going to go on the bolt, because you're going to want to put it in this side. We're going to want the flatter end of the bolt on the bottom side of the slide board, and you're just going to want to attach the nut on this side. But since that's not going to go all the way through the board, it's not going to come up all the way through, then you're going to want to make a bigger hole so that you can put the nut on it. So what you're going to do is just, again, drill into that board. Whoop. Easier said than done. But you're only going to go down a little bit, because that bolt the nut will then come through there. That should be another tip on drilling into the angled board. It's easier if you start perpendicular to the hole, create that hole, and then come straight down the way you want to. And if you get any of these pieces, you can just, again, sand them. But if you notice, we're not going down very far at all, just enough to be able to put the nut on the bolt. Once you have the holes drilled through the board that will be your push board and the melamine, then you put the 1/4 inch screws, 1/4 inch bolts up through, and then you line up the holes, and you will then attach the push board to the melamine. Just like that. What you might want to get is some needle nose pliers to hold the nut into place, and then secure that. I mean, if you can turn it on, you can do that. Just like this, just turn the nut. You can do that, or hold it. The other thing you can do is, if you make that hole big enough, is to just get a hex wrench and hold that on. Again, either hold it or actually turn it like you see that I'm doing here. It takes a little bit of patience, but even when you get that started, once you get that started, then you can take your screwdriver So once you've done that, then do that for all the other ones, and your slide board is almost ready. So now that we have the 2 push boards attached on the end, we're actually going to make another push board in the middle for the younger hockey players, because an 7, 8, 9-year-old, even 10-year-old doesn't have to go that far. So we're going to shrink the board to about 6 feet. Now this one, once we attach it, you'll be able to take that on and off, just like you can take these on and off if you need to. But this one, because it's either going to be temporary until your player gets older and then uses the full length, or if you just want to have it and remove it, whatever you want to do. And even for goalies, maybe sliding on the knees back and forth, you might want to go the whole way. We're only going to drill 2 holes at each end of this to attach this one. So now that we've got the slide board all set up, we have removed the other piece that we put at 6 feet for our younger players. Well, now we're going to take some spray wax and coat this melamine surface with the spray wax to make it slippery. And then we're just going to take some disposable shoe covers that you can also buy at Home Depot. The spray wax we actually got from an auto parts dealership. And we'll spray this on evenly, get a nice coat that it's slippery, and then we'll be ready to slide. So I've attached my little boot slip covers, and we just sprayed the spray wax. I sprayed it pretty liberally, but as it looks, you really don't need a lot. And as you can see, we go right up against, now we have our foot at a 45-degree angle for a great push. And as you can see, I probably put more than was needed. But you can definitely mimic the push of a stride in skating, and you've got yourself a homemade slide board.